What's up, everybody? It's Two Nice Trace Parker, every grandma's favorite wrestler, and you're watching the Three Count Podcast.
Welcome everyone to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And with this being season 6 and our 400 and something episode, I would just hope you say it with me. I am your Sherpa, because like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering the ring? You can find this person at PPW. You can find him at Voltage. You can find him at ROH, SWO, 3LW, PYD, AXW. He is a single star. He is a tag team specialist. Hey, just don't get it twisted, because this man is never too angry, but he is always too nice. Trace Parker.
What an intro.
Hey, I pride myself on that. I think being the
Nah, that
being
was
the
great.
intel specialist, you kind of have to,
For sure. 400 episodes deep.
bruh. It is a lot of episodes to be running on here, and it is probably 350 something episodes
Yeah.
too late to be having you
Yeah.
on this show.
Hey, we got there, though.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I was thinking about it, and we were talking about it right beforehand. Like
Mhm.
I've been thinking about like back, because I'm in like going heading towards my 5 year mark now, and like
Mhm.
I'm sitting there thinking about the times that like I would always see you pop up over at Sicken's place to come do some
Yeah.
training and stuff like that. And I got to talking about it with a friend of mine about well, now it's like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking about this story back, how we were all in the ring together, and
Mhm.
I blew up at another veteran for some things that he should not have done
Mhm.
at a wrestling event. And yeah, I remember I remember Sicken's face was like,
Yeah.
he's kind of right.
Well, funny enough, I was at training that day, but I was also at that show that was in the backyard during COVID where everything happened.
Yeah,
So just we've came a long way though.
we have come
So
a long ways from that moment, and it was wild too, man. Like it was just something we'll kind of talk about without talking about it.
mhm.
It
Sure.
goes back to being like there's the word in wrestling, right?
Hmm.
Professional, like a professional wrestler. And
Yeah.
I think that one of the rules of those things is that you're always being a professional. Like you always have to have
Hmm.
your game face on. And so when said person decided to insult me at a
Hmm.
place that I've never been at, I just took it on the chin. I was like, yeah, sure,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And all I thought to myself was, I cannot wait till we get back home, because I know you,
Yeah.
I know where you train, I
Hmm.
know who your trainer is, and I know about what the next move is going to be. So, and I remember walking in, and I remember walking in and talking to Nick, and everybody saw Eric, hey, what's up? Hey,
Hmm.
what's going on? Shaking everybody's hand, like, you do. And then I
Hmm.
remember seeing you and Ron together in the ring, and I said something to Nick. I was like, yeah, I got to go handle some business.
Hmm.
And Nick was like, okay. He's kind of confused. And I walked in. I remember saying, hey, what's up, man? How you been? And you were like, what's up? I was like, hey, yo, fuck off for a second.
Yeah.
And then,
But
like, and then, yeah, poor
yeah.
person just got smoked out.
And then Nick just looked around. He's like, "All right, let's train."
Let's get into training. And so we were in the training.
But
Yo,
yeah.
but besides that, man, like, you have, like, I want to give you like your praise, right? Because like
Yeah.
from where you were, where I've seen you at, to where you are
Mhm.
now, man, you are just light years ahead of where you were when I first met
But,
you, and even past
mhm.
that moment, and then going forward. And I just wanted to throw, man, my love your way, man. I'm so proud of seeing how far you've come.
Man, I appreciate that. It's tough because like I think you're always focused on where you're not, and sometimes you forget to like look back and realize how far you came. But
Hmm.
uh, but yeah, I definitely appreciate that. I mean, you watched me take some of my first bumps in wrestling, so I
Yep.
mean, and we all started training with Big Trouble Ben Bishop. Like it's crazy seeing how far he's came just in that amount of time. Like, I mean, he's killing it right now.
He is
So,
absolutely. But both of you guys, I mean, you guys have, your wrestling speaks for itself, but then also you have an online presence as well, and you do your thing, and then like,
mhm,
uh, yeah, Ben's whole thing online is ridiculous. Of like
just
how
killing it.
just every
Just
time I turn around, I see something new, whether it's about his merch line
mhm.
or the Shindy God thing going
Yeah,
on. Like, yeah, the fact that you guys are like carved out like this niche for you guys yourselves is so
yeah.
cool. And then even like watching you, I mean, whether it's at Voltage or you're at PPW, you
Mhm,
know, the fact I remember like talking with Chaz because Pure
mhm.
Ignorance, you guys were running that storyline for a little
Yeah,
bit. They like were praising you and Tom, like just like,
yeah,
man, they're so cool. Like we have so much
yeah.
fun working with them,
Mhm.
you know. So yeah,
Yeah. I was actually looking forward to having a few more matches with them at Voltage, but I guess it just never came to fruition. But we had a lot of fun. We had a triple threat tag match with them and Dog Nation
yeah.
to kick off last year, and like I remember we called the whole match in like 10 minutes. We barely had a finish called, like as like music was playing, but it was just a lot of fun and it was magic.
It's crazy how like you can find like those right partnerships though,
Hmm.
and they just kind of flow together.
Yeah.
And I feel like the one thing about Chaz and Prince, or even Chaz and Noah, Noah
Hmm.
and Prince, just whatever trio they're running with,
Hmm.
like you can play off their strengths and get like this fire match. And I remember when
Oh yeah.
I always have fun like merging, like working with those guys in
Hmm.
any capacity.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but it's something about like Tom and you, right? Because
Hmm.
I've teamed with Tom.
Hmm.
Um, and actually, we were on the we had an episode of the podcast together too. But him and I, like, we teamed at Voltage,
Hmm.
and just working with him and his cohesionness is like really
Yeah.
fun because there's a lot of stuff that you can do with him, and then
Oh yeah.
knowing how you've kind of been coming along, like to see you two
Hmm.
molding together, and then watching you
Yeah.
guys at ROH together was so much fun to see.
Yeah.
'Cause you're able to get yourselves kind of like you got over with the crowd massively, and then
Wow. We try,
yeah,
but
and then obviously, well, I mean, it's hard when you're not ROH's talent, but you guys were always
right. Yeah.
talent regardless.
But no, Tom is insane. Like his athleticism for his size is crazy. Um, because we started training together at SWO, and like we would go over to like 3WA in Quakertown, and they just started kind of tagging us together, and like we never thought much of it. We didn't have matching gear or anything, and we were just like, maybe we should try this elsewhere, and it kind of just took off from there, and ended up getting us on ROH. So,
Yeah, I remember one time I think when we worked together, he
hmm.
had like solid blue tights and like or solid
Hmm.
blue trunks and then solid red trunks. And he
Yeah,
saw like I had the red gear and he was just like, I'm gonna match you. And we were like,
yeah,
cool. So we ran the
yeah.
gauntlet at Voltage in a tag
Hmm.
match and we came up short. But nonetheless,
Yeah.
we had a lot of fun and it was cool getting to work with him and kind of like learn from him like what he was
Hmm.
getting into. And I don't know, I ended up moving and that's the reason why like we never got to run back a tag or
Ah,
anything. I ended up moving to
yeah,
Massachusetts.
yeah. But I heard the scenes up there's popping though.
Always. The New England scene is a crazy scene, man.
Hmm.
Like especially if you're starting to kind of break out. There's a lot of
Oh yeah,
places to work, a lot of people to talk with. Don't worry. You and I,
yeah,
we can definitely talk offline because
for
you guys
sure,
don't get that cool. You don't get that
for
cool here.
sure.
I could definitely
Yeah.
I could definitely point you in the direction of some people who are looking for workers. And it's funny
Oh
too
yeah.
because even for me, like I've kind of put it up and if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, you kind of know
Hmm.
who I kind of recruit talent for anyway. So
Hmm.
it's a couple places where I recruit talent for and I'm trying to bring new eyes, new people to a new area so they can get their
Hmm.
eyes on that product. And it goes by vice versa. I have people that I take from like the Massachusetts area, and I bring them down to Pennsylvania or to Jersey
Hmm.
or into Maryland, and then vice versa. So I try to bring this like cool, you know,
Hmm.
idea of like trying to blend two parts together.
Because every area has like a different style too. Because everyone's trained by someone different. Everyone's got their own ways.
Yep.
So like every way you can learn is something you can benefit from, you know?
Yep,
So,
100%.
but
I'm a big proponent of it, and I know like for me, um, getting trained with, getting to train with Bo Douglas up here, who is a former
mm,
Killer Kowalski student, is so much
mm,
fun. And then I'm also, working with NRG out of New Bedford,
oh, nice.
Massachusetts. Yeah, so I'm working with Mike Rassa, and it's so
Mm,
much fun, like getting to learn from all these guys because there's just different styles of learning, but all these guys all still fall under the Killer Kowalski tree, so still
yeah.
kind of learning like from them. So
Mm-hmm.
it's cool, man. It's a lot of fun, and then also I still drop back down into Maryland and go train with Ruckus and Siggy.
Yeah.
So it's like I get to kind of learn from two different trees, which is so much fun to also be able
Oh
to blend
yeah.
together.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, especially you.
But
I mean, what are we talking about? Like you're learning from the dudes who are literally at the Harvard and Yale of like professional wrestling, and then
yeah,
like you're also at like 3LW with Ricardo.
yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting mix of training because
yeah,
down there you got to learn like the TV style, learning under Breeze and Spears, and now like Jesus has kind of got that TV style mixed in with like lucha, and it's just like learning all these different kind of styles is so cool because there's so many ways to wrestle. But
yeah.
so
I'll
yeah,
be honest. I kind of prefer the TV style where like I'm looking for like
100%.
I'm not trying to look for the cameras, but I kind of know where
Mm-hmm.
they are already. So I'm just like, all right, I can sell this to this
100%.
and sell that to that. It's funny
But
because like I remember I was working at an event in Philly, and Isaiah Wolf was like talking to me,
mm,
and he was like, "Listen," he's like, "You do a great job at playing to this crowd, but this
mm-hmm.
crowd's already paid their money. They kind of already know
Yeah.
you're here. Look here at the camera
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
play to the audience." And I remember like starting to do that and like started like locating where everything was at. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna hit this move here, and then we're gonna do
Yeah.
this, and then I'm gonna talk trash. And one time, I remember I was wrestling abs at this place called Focus Pro Wrestling, and
Oh
I
yeah.
picked him up. I hit him with a body slam. I sat him up, and I looked at the camera. I was like, "Yo, smile for the people at home." And he like put on like a face, and I like kicked him. Uh,
Yeah.
but I was like, "Yo, this is cool." So yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
like that. What about you? What's your style?
I love the TV style. You got to find those cameras and the photographers. Because, like, really, you got to find that stuff to go take those clips and those photos and promote yourself online. So, I mean, the wrestling's cool, but, you know, if you want to
Yeah,
make it to the next level,
you got to find it.
for
I,
sure.
I feel like,
But,
and that's the thing too. When you look at someone like, we'll talk about it. You look for like a
yeah.
WWE. They don't look.
Hmm.
They know they don't look for. They can look for wrestlers all day.
Yeah.
They're looking for
Hmm.
people who can find those cameras and find those angles,
For
know
sure.
how to play to not just the audience in the crowd, but the audience at home as well. And I think that's such an important factor because
Yeah.
that's how you drive more people to want to see you.
For sure. And I think one thing I learned that's really stuck with me is people love the characters. Like the moves are cool, but really like nobody loves wrestling more than actual wrestlers. So like I think we get caught up in the bubble sometimes of like we got to like learn all these different wrestling moves and everything. But really like the crowd just wants to connect with you. So I'm big on the character work now.
Yeah, and I think when I look at and that's one part where I got to start even playing more into because I
Hmm.
do love doing like more character work. I think one of the things that I've like started to understand is like, all right, so even I watch like you watch a WWE, you watch a TNA, you watch
Hmm.
AEW. It doesn't matter what you watch,
Yeah.
right? Even New Japan,
Hmm.
their guys will hit like four big moves maybe,
Yeah. Hmm.
and the rest of it is like punch, kick, chop, arm drag,
Yeah.
hip toss, and
Yeah.
really those are it. Just where they place them is what matters. And
For
I'm like,
sure.
that's all I want to do now. That's all I
Hmm. Yeah.
want. I don't care. I don't care that you can do. You're gonna hit me with like this 450 splash into this like you
Yeah.
hit me with a 450 splash, pick me up and hit me with a Falcon Arrow. No, no, no. You're just gonna hit me with a
Yeah.
Falcon Arrow or a
Yeah.
450 splash, one or the other.
And
In
also, like, there's longevity in it too. Like, the more you can save your body, the longer you can work, the more you can work, more money you can make. So,
facts,
but
facts.
we're playing the long game here.
Playing
But
along. Plus, listen, man. I gotta go to work tomorrow. I'm
Yeah.
really not trying. I'm
Yo, no,
really
I
not
feel you.
trying to go to work looking like like I'm a even though I'm a decade away from being 50, I'm really not trying to look like I'm 50, walking around
Right.
like all hunched over, like, oh my god,
Yeah.
can't move. Like I'm not
Yeah.
trying to do all that. Like,
I mean, one day I'd like to have kids, and I'd like to be able to throw the baseball with them in the backyard, you know? But I don't want to be hunched over at 50 and not being able to walk. But
yeah. Listen, at
uh,
50 years old, I still want to be doing a 1.5 dive into the water. Like, I don't.
there you go.
I want to
Yeah.
look. I want people to be like, "Yo, that guy's 50 and he's doing that."
Yeah.
Like, I want to be that
Like that
guy.
Ricky Morton level stuff when he
Yeah,
busts out a Canadian randomly.
yeah. Just
But
randomly buzz out a Canadian destroyer for no reason.
yeah.
100%. That's what I want to be. And then just
Yeah.
like and you kind of hit on it, so I want to talk more about it. But character
Hmm.
work is so important because,
Hmm.
like you said, you're gonna know moves, sure,
Yeah.
but like ultimately, like the character side of things is what's really gonna matter. What can you do to make yourself different from everybody else, and what
Hmm.
makes your character different? So I'm curious, like, who is Too Nice Trey Parker, and what makes him different from everybody else?
He's the nicest professional wrestler. He's every grandma's favorite wrestler. And he's every father's handpicked man to be their son-in-law.
I like it. How did you develop that? Like, how'd you put that all together?
That was actually something down at Flatbacks. I remember we were doing it was either back elbow or clothesline drills, but I was so light with everything, and Spears just was like, "You're too nice with everything." He's like, you gotta lay it in a little bit," and I was just like, we were sitting at watching Dynamite just at back of the one at the house, and the one guy was like, "Yeah, you're too nice," and I was like, "Yes, I am." And we just kind of played into that character a little bit, and here we are now.
I like it. I like
So
it because like it's funny how you develop like your character side of things, and you think about like the world of how you want to build it up, right? So for
yeah.
like so like you use your personal life, right? Like
Hmm.
you're too nice with this. Don't lay it in a little bit. And for like Red Dog, it was literally just the Air Force thing. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm Air Force veteran, and the reason even for Red Dog was just because
Hmm.
I was, being bullied, and I
Yeah.
wanted to include as much as I could, like, of what makes me me into the
Hmm.
character that I put together, and
Hmm.
I think that's where like that's what makes it interesting because you're genuine to who you are,
Hmm.
and I know you offline as well as
Hmm.
online.
Yeah.
And you're right, like you are. I mean, you're the same. You're the same person. Like,
Yeah.
it's rare to see. It's rare for me to see you ever get upset, and you're just
Uh,
like, yeah, you're always just mild mannered, but you're super polite, super nice to like everybody.
I try to be, but I think that's what makes like characters like if you have something that's easy to tap into, then it just makes your job 10 times easier. Because I think a lot of people when they get into wrestling, they try to like be a character that's just not them at all. So like they're trying to figure out how to wrestle and play a character that's not them, and it's just there's too much going on.
Yeah,
But
I had that problem. It was funny. I had that problem
mm,
actually with Sicken.
mhm,
Because when he first talked to me, he was like, "Yeah, you got to be like a military guy. Be very,
mhm,
stoic and very like, you get frustrated and you're very much on point and with missions and stuff like that." I was like, "Yeah, bro,
yeah,
you have no idea who's in the military and what they do.
yeah,
Like the dark humor that goes in with people." I was like, "You will never know." I was like,
yeah,
"So." One day he was like, "Well, then you tell me how you want to do a promo. You do the promo you want to do it." And I was like, "All right, bet."
mhm,
And so I cut a promo the way I did. And fun fact, this will be a name that and a throwback name to other
mhm.
people who are paying attention. Jeremy Grimes and I were going back
Oh
and
my
forth.
gosh, yeah,
Yeah, we were going back and forth in a promo battle, and I was just cutting the promo the way I wanted to cut it, and everybody was
mhm,
like, "Oh,
yeah,
damn!" Like, all right, you can start doing it that way.
yeah. But no,
Yeah,
like having that military background, it's so much easier for you to tap into. Because like if Sicken or me tried to do it, we'd try to go that route that Sicken was saying, and it just wouldn't come off authentic at all.
yeah, and that was
So
my problem was I wasn't feeling authentic to myself because I was like, yeah, it's just little too like mission accepted. We're going down this
yeah,
path, blah 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 blah. And I was like, no, 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 no.
yeah,
Like, let me give me a quick 20. Tell me to go hit a target and be like, hey, oh, sorry, hey, by the way, you just saw what was gonna happen. It was an interaction with a name, and
yeah.
that name is it's a secret. You know what I mean? So it's like that's just
Yeah.
me anyway. And I was like, let me
Hmm.
just tap into this and have fun with this. And I could tweak things here and there to make it more appropriate. But yeah, ultimately I was like, I got it now. I was like, this is gonna
Oh
be
yeah.
fun. But yeah, I think what's important too is that once you start learning the character and and I say the character, you, right,
Hmm.
you'll start learning how that person wants to wrestle. And I think
For sure.
that's so important to build that world up around that character to make it matter.
Hmm. Yeah. Because you learn to just work your character into matches, and then like you just piece a few moves in there, and it's just easier. And like you're not thinking about matches as much because you're just being yourself, you know.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's funny for me because like I see a lot of people have like gone through and kind of learned like who Red Dog is based off like the way I
yeah.
wrestle and stuff and the way I work. And I recently had a match with John Washington at HWF, and
Okay.
he thought it was so much fun that like I had this like playful side of the
Hmm.
character. So he was like, "Dude, can you hit John Cena's 5 moves of doom?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that for you." I was like, "Absolutely." And
Yeah.
so like in the match, you see me do it, and then like I talked to his boy. I was like, "Yo, Big Billy," and he's like, "You better not do it." I
Yeah.
was like, "You can't see
Hmm.
me."
Yeah.
And it was just for the crowd because the crowd popped, and I was like, "I'm glad John thought of that," and I was like, "I'm glad that my character will also play with
For
that
sure.
idea." But yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was just a fun moment to be able to throw in there.
Yeah. I mean, Cena's a great example about that. Like 5 moves of doom.
5 moves of doom.
And now you got Jey Uso, just won the Rumble. He might have 3 or 4 moves, but the crowd loves him, you know? Like #1
Yeah.
merch seller,
That's
you
so
know?
great, and it's just it goes back to like yeah, so you can hit like 70 different moves and you want to hit this one or that one, and that's great. I was like
Mhm.
at the end of the day, like for people who okay, and it's not me knocking people who love those moves because
Mhm.
it's great that you do, right?
Yeah.
Like seeing Will Ospreay be able to hit like a Tiger Driver and then pick up a
Yeah.
dude, hit him into a power bomb. It gets or it get goes set up for a power bomb. It gets reversed,
Yeah.
and we'll use Darby Allen as an example. Hits a
Mhm.
code red off of it. Those are
Yeah.
cool. It's a great sequence.
Yeah.
It pops people that are watching. But
Mhm.
every once in a while, man, I just want to see shoulder tackle,
Yeah.
proto bomb.
Yeah. But like I think a lot of people try to replicate the Will Ospreay and like the Darby Allin style, but they're not Will Ospreay and Darby Allin. Like if you're gonna do that style, you got to be the best at it.
Yeah,
And I think if you're more of a character base, you can just do what you want to do,
yeah.
and be different.
Be
So,
different. Just be a
but
different guy all around.
yeah,
Or a different gal. Like, not trying to be biased, but yeah, you
yeah,
could be
it
just be
goes both
different.
ways.
I think that's
Yeah.
also. I mean, there's some people who like try to lean too heavy into like I want to be this person. Like I remember I saw it was on Instagram or something. There was a guy. He was trying to, and I don't want to say trying. He had
Yeah.
mimicked a lot of moves that Malachi Black had done.
Mm.
Um, but it was like why? Like
Yeah.
why and at that time too, right? Like Malachi Black had just came into AEW, like House of
Hmm.
Black had just started to become a thing. And then there's this
Yeah.
guy who's like trying to legitimately like we're talking like the veil, the skull, the horn,
Yeah.
everything. And it's like, yeah, dude, I would have not done that. I would have gone so
Yeah.
else.
Well, because like from their perspective, it's like, why would we hire that? We already have that. You
Yeah.
know, it's on our television program. So,
Yeah.
but
And see, for
yeah,
nice and smooth, like you don't have that on your Well, I mean, unless you have the Ring of Honor pass, then
yeah,
add that on your TV. Otherwise, you
sure.
don't have that. Like the way you and Tom move, and the way you guys talk, the way you guys are
Hmm.
interacting and stuff like that, your
Hmm.
guys' chemistry can't be replicated with anybody else. And that's what's so cool to watch you guys work and the way you guys be able to handle the adversity side of things. You can see like the communication. You're like, come on, man,
Hmm.
we can do this. Like, tag
Yeah.
me in. Like, and so
Yeah.
I definitely love watching. Like I said, I love watching your guys' interactions and the way you guys are able to flow together.
Yeah. I appreciate that. We've been having a lot more fun lately, just tagging. So it's become like a full-time thing, and yeah, ready for what's next.
Yeah. Well, actually, what is the goal? What is next for y'all?
Um, I think 2025. I think it's just to stay booked consistently. Get more and more reps, branch into different markets, different areas. So we have a Virginia debut coming up in March, which we're excited about, getting to a new state. So hopefully we can get more down south and up more north, maybe out to the Midway West. So, but just expanding our reach.
Well, I could think of a couple promotions and a couple guys who could use some too smooth, too nice and smooth in their repertoire. So I definitely
Sounds good.
can make some reaches and we can get some things going for y'all. Cause I don't know if you know, but PI actually debuted in Connecticut last year. Um,
Really?
yeah, we had a trios match, and I actually got to, I am a member of PI, but nonetheless, like
Oh,
we got to run a trios match, and then I've actually brought them up into Massachusetts, and they actually got to run tag match and 6-man tag match with like Supernova. So it was cool
mm,
getting to see those guys work, and then I've had a little bit of people reach out to me and ask me if they can get some help, and so I'm like, I'll throw them to whoever is
yeah,
looking for people. So yeah, I know I got you too, so I was like, let me figure this out.
yeah. I mean, we started training together back in what, like 2020, and we've never worked a
2020.
match. So,
Never worked a match. You hear that? You hear that? It's
uh,
opportunity right there. And the fun part is I'm looking to run like I would love to be able to run a series where it's like, hey, we worked this one match at this one promotion in
mm,
Massachusetts or in Connecticut. Oh, so now we got to go down to Pennsylvania or to Maryland to run it back, and
yeah,
then we can be like at a neutral site for like a
yeah,
third run, right? Home
hmm
turf advantage both ways. I think it'd
yeah,
be cool. It'd be a lot of fun, and
oh yeah,
ultimately, wherever it works out, it works out. But I was like, I mean, I think altogether it'd be a blast just to be able to
yeah,
run. Period, and
oh
then
for sure.
both sides of it. So not just on the single side because we definitely gonna
Hmm
get that done.
Oh yeah,
And but I would also like to see it on the tag side as well because I think that would be a blast to be able to run with PI versus my me in PI
oh yeah. Any day of the week, I'm ready to run that match.
all day. Okay, man. So let me ask you this question because I love asking this to everybody who comes on the show. What was the worst bump you've taken?
Ooh, man. Honestly, I haven't taken like too many terrible bumps. Luckily, um, worst weapon I've ever gotten hit with was a cookie sheet. Ironically, not a chair, nothing. That's usually what comes to mind. Um, I guess superplex would be the worst, but honestly, I never really thought that was terrible.
Yeah,
So, but I've hit
that's
my
good.
head on some shoulder tackles, so
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've,
I've been pretty fortunate, not gonna lie. So yeah,
that's good though. That's good. So then,
work
all right.
safe.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Uh,
For now, yeah.
yeah, yeah, for
No. Well, that's
sure.
fine. I mean, I'm glad to know that
Yeah,
you haven't taken any terrible bumps yet, and
yeah.
we don't want you to. But
hmm
what's the hardest lesson you've had to learn so far being in your career?
Um, it's a good one. Everybody's irreplaceable. Um, we need wrestling more than wrestling needs us. So I mean, everyone has like their opinion of themselves and like the equity that they bring to a show, but I think it's all about um, what can you do for the show and not what the show can do for you. Like if you're second or third on the card, how can I help this card build to the main event rather than it focus around me?
Yeah.
So I'd say that was probably the biggest one, just not being too selfish.
I
But,
think that's important too, because like for me, when I look at the way, like when I always ask the question, I'm like, where do you have me on the card? Because I think that's
hmm
important, like to know what the roster spot, what you're looking to build to, right?
hmm
And I know like my question that we always I always end up asking two questions. What's your plan for
hmm
me, for your company? And
hmm
how can I help build your
Yeah.
show and where you have me? And so, especially at one place where it's called HWF, they always have me running first because
hmm
they're always like, yo, we know the crowd likes you. We know that you like, you can, mind you, they also know that I drive like 7.5 hours to go wrestle
Yeah.
on the show. But they're like, we know that you want to come in or you want to work. We want to get you off the gate. and because we know the crowd likes you, they get hot whenever they see you. So they're
Hmm.
like, well, that's where we're gonna put you. And I'm like, all right, cool.
Hmm.
Like, so just get out there, get the crowd hyped, teach them what we're looking for the show, and then just
Hmm.
go from there. I'm like, bet.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. You know, in other
Yeah.
places, they're like, hey, we want you in the main event,
Hmm.
and just go out there, have a fun, and
Yeah.
here's the story. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, just tell me what you want me.
For sure.
So let me ask this question before we go into my favorite part of the podcast. Where's your
Sure.
favorite place of being placed on the card?
First,
Yeah.
no doubt. I love getting a hot crowd and just going out there and having fun.
Mm,
Get that
that's where
fresh
it's at.
crowd.
Yeah.
So, so
It
yeah.
goes back to like I was saying, right? Like just showing the crowd, like, hey, this is what a good guy's gonna be like. This is what the bad guy's gonna
Yeah.
be like. We're gonna have a lot of fun with it, and you
Yeah.
guys are gonna enjoy this too. So I definitely, yeah, I 100% agree. That's
But
the spot.
a close second would be co-main
Okay.
because then you're fresh in everybody's mind to sell merch at intermission.
You know what's crazy? I love being right before intermission. So if I'm
Yeah.
not first, I want to be the first one right before intermission so that I
Yeah.
can come back out with my
For
gear
sure.
and just start selling merch too. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, let me get this merch going.
And if you win the first half main, everyone wants to get a picture with the guy who just won.
Yeah, yes,
So,
100%.
but
And
no.
you always get the kids that are all like, "Oh, you're my favorite wrestler." I'm like, "Yeah, well, you haven't watched the rest of the
Yeah.
show, but yeah, what's up, man?"
Yeah. We're the last one. You're the last one I just saw. So you're my favorite wrestler.
Yeah, and I'm like,
So
"You're my
yeah.
favorite fan as of right now
Yeah.
because you ain't watched the
Yeah.
rest of the show. I definitely appreciate you."
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we're gonna hop over to my favorite part of the 3 Count Podcast, which is the 3 Count Podcast, 10 count questions, and here's how it works. I'm gonna fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast, and so whatever your answer is, that's your answer.
Sounds good.
All right, so let's put the imaginary timer for added pressure. Ping. And then where's my favorite commentator, Mike Goldberg? Here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite movie?
Ooh, Step Brothers.
Let's go. Waffles or pancakes?
Waffles.
Favorite TV show?
Seinfeld.
Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Favorite cartoon?
Ooh, Jimmy Neutron.
Let's go. I like it. Apple or Android?
Apple.
Favorite podcast?
3 Count Podcast.
It's the only one that matters, bro.
That's right.
Nominate one person that you want to see on this show.
Sugar Dan Stofko.
Yeah, he's been nominated a couple of times now.
Yeah.
He's coming on the show. I promise you guys, he's coming on the show.
Fellow Riot City trainee.
He is. He is
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this podcast. Favorite curse word?
Ass.
That's a good one. It's a good one.
I feel
Simple.
like everyone says the F word, so we'll go different.
Yeah, a lot of people use the F word,
Yeah.
especially on this podcast. Like that word gets dropped all the time. Shit is another one that gets dropped a lot.
Okay.
So between those two, and then and then in a close third is the C word. So see you next Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bet. Well,
Classic
listen,
wrestler talk.
those are all my questions I have for you. So the last thing that I need is for you to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
You can find me at Trace Parker on Facebook and Trace Parker Pro on X or Twitter, and Instagram is also Trace Parker Pro.
Bet. Well, he gave you his handles. He told you where you can find them, and you know what that means. Like every great part of a wrestling match, we gotta take this home because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And like every good show, it's not about me; it's about who's entering. So who's entering? You see him right there. He's just too nice.
Yes,
Trace
sir.
Parker. And you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you're legitimately following us on all of our social media platforms. You're checking us out on YouTube. You even subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're following us on Spotify. You're listening to us on Amazon Music, or you're checking us out on that stupid app with the dumb jingle that goes iHeartRadio or whatever it is. You're buying our merch on foryouwear.com, or you're even checking out our merch on prowrestlingtees.com. You're telling your mom about it, your dad about it, your auntie, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your best friends, your cousins, and your enemies, because we love haters too. You're doing all those things, or really you're just kind of waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for that outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Kawaii. What's up? It is your friendly neighborhood Red Dog, and thank you for checking out this episode of the 3 Count Podcast. Whether that was Chaz friends, Red Dog friends, Damien friends, the Film Styles, now into the ring, now entering 201, or now returning to the ring, all those good episodes. You should really be liking, commenting, and even sharing this with your friends, family, whoever it may be. But what you all should be doing is checking us out on all of our social media platforms at 3 Count Pod, whether that's on IG, Twitch, you can check us out on Threads, whatever it may be. And if you go check us out on X, it is 3count_pod. Check us out on YouTube, as well as Facebook, on Rumble, on Apple Music, on Spotify, all those fun things. Tell your mom about us, your dad about us, your aunties, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, and your best friends and your enemies, because we love haters too. Do all that stuff, and then, last but not least, buy our merch on foryouwear.com or prowrestlingtees.com. Kawaii.